Oh, now this is juicy as ESPN has dropped a wild Spurs trade with the Dallas Mavericks as Cooper Flagg's status as the Maverick selection at number 1 is up in the air every single day, and with the Spurs honing in on Dylan Harper at number 2, uncertainty continues to arise around Nico Harrison and his plan going forward. And with this recent article by ESPN, they have the San Antonio Spurs landing Cooper Flagg in a blockbuster trade that involves Dylan Harper and a lot more. We have to dive into exactly what ESPN said here and the odds of this happening and the implications it would have on the Spurs long term. But I also have a little tiny note about a certain thing out of Milwaukee, but I don't think it's what you think. So stick around for all that coming up on this episode of Spurs Digest. And I'm going to start in Milwaukee. And look, I'm be honest, I'm kind of sick of the honest talk, just like you guys are. But look, if new reports come out, we talk about them here on the show because that's what we're here to do, give you guys that news every single day. But this is not really Giannis talk. I guess it's pseudo-related, but I thought it was really funny and interesting. So I actually saw this going around in a lot of Spurs circles, whether it's on Twitter or Reddit or wherever. I found it funny. So take a look at this tweet. So I'm making it a bit bigger for you. So the father, this is by the Dunk Central, reported by Barlow 500. The father of a potential lottery pick says the Milwaukee Bucks have contacted his son and have been doing background research on him, despite not owning a first-round pick. Quote, Milwaukee doesn't have a pick in the first round, not even in the top 10, but they're asking about my son and wanting to know a little bit more information. They've called, and I don't understand why they have interest unless they plan on making a move. First of all, it's kind of a wild quote to hear from a dad, like an anonymous father, be like, I don't know why they're talking to my son. I mean, maybe it's because they want to make a move to acquire you. But, so, naturally you're thinking, potential lottery pick, someone slated between 10 and 20. But I'm seeing Spurs fans left and right. You go to the replies of this post, you go find this on Reddit, you go find this on Twitter, wherever it is, even on Facebook if you check it there. I don't really check it too much, but maybe you do. And you're seeing people say, definitely Dylan Harper's dad. And I'm like, hold your horses now. Like this Giannis stuff, I thought we put that to bed, the Giannis Dylan Harper stuff. But hey, it's not stopping people from talking. Now, I will say this is interesting because even if this is not the centerpiece of like a Giannis to San Antonio trade, San Antonio does have 2 lottery picks. And all I'm saying is that Milwaukee has to make some moves. Now, we've discussed a few of these on the channel before, of course, with Damian Lillard out with that Achilles injury. Probably never going to get back to where he was. He's going to miss this whole year, $50+ million on the books. Brook Lopez could very well be on his way out as well. Milwaukee has some decisions to make in terms of who to get rid of and what to do for their future. Let's say Giannis does stay, which is still a very real possibility and probably the most likely possibility here. What's stopping Milwaukee from maybe moving on from someone on the roster, even if it's not named Giannis, and trying to get a mid-round lottery pick to use on a certain player? So this is more telling me that Milwaukee's scouting this draft to try and make a trade into the late lottery, because if you're hearing potential lottery pick, they say you're probably not going to want to trade for a pick lower than say 14, right? Because you run the risk of your guy being gone. So I'm just saying, like with the San Antonio Spurs owning 2 first-round picks and Milwaukee a little bit desperate to get off some money. Now, I don't think the Spurs would be in a position to accept like a big contract from Milwaukee, again, unless it's Giannis. In just kind of a dump to try and get picks. No, I mean, Milwaukee would have to give something of note, but I'm just saying there's a framework there, and even if it's not San Antonio, Milwaukee's in the market for it, so just keep an eye out. I thought it was a little interesting tidbit, even if some Spurs fans were driving me nuts with those Dylan Harper comments. But look, that's not the main thing we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about this recent ESPN article, and I'm excited to show you guys this. Now, this is linked down below. Go check it out, where ESPN did some potential trade offers for the top 2025 draft pick Cooper Flagg. And again, I want to start this by saying all indications are that the Dallas Mavericks are going to pick him first overall. That seems to be what everyone's saying. They said they're not entertaining trading him for a star. But this package does not involve trading Cooper Flagg for a superstar player. And also, we all thought that Luka Doncic was going to be a Maverick for life. So I'm just saying, Nico, sorry, no one trusts anything that comes out of the Mavericks camp anymore, and probably never again while you're still there. But I want to dive into the Spurs mock trade here. They have offer number 1. Spurs move up to build front court of the future. This is the first mock trade in this whole article, written by Zach Katz. Dallas Mavericks get 2025 number 2 pick. So that'd be Dylan Harper, you have to assume. And our number 14 pick, whether that's Carter Bryant, Derek Queen, whoever the heck you want to draft there, doesn't matter. Go ahead. Atlanta's 2027 first and the return of the swap rights to Dallas's 2030 pick. Now, that 2030 pick is actually looking extremely valuable more and more and more as the days go by, because remember, Anthony Davis, they traded for him on a 3-year contract, and Kyrie Irving's not getting any younger. So with Dallas in win now mode, that 2030 pick is right when their stars are kind of ending their contracts, getting out of their primes. Could be very good. So this is the framework here, and they kind of go on to say the reasoning is, well, let me just show you here. Well, they give kind of a comparable. They're like, listen, in 1993, the Warriors sent 3 future firsts to the Magic to facilitate the swap of number 3 Penny Hardaway for number 1 Weber. And honestly, like, not a crazy comparison there between Dylan Harper, Penny Hardaway, and Cooper Flagg, Chris Webber. I mean, obviously they're not the same player, but it's kind of a similar thing, right? Chris Webber was coming off an insane college career at Michigan, right? Like they say here, like Flagg was a mega prospect coming out of a standout college career. Dylan Harper filling in for Hardaway as a big dynamic guard. And it's like, you know what? That's not that crazy when you put it that way. And look, again, whether or not Dallas is going to trade this pick, that's what would hold this trade up. But if I'm seeing this and I'm the Spurs, I'm doing this in a heartbeat. And I think you guys are too, right? Like, I know Dylan Harper looks amazing, but the whole reason we don't want to trade this potential pick or Stephon Castle, if we're talking about getting a Giannis, is because, they're in their prime. You get them for a few years, not really the long-term future. This is the future. Like, now you could make the argument that, 3 supplemental first-round picks, maybe not all 3 because it's a pick swap, but it's probably going to be swapped because the Spurs are probably going to be good, better than the Mavs at least in 2030. That's what we're hoping. But like looking at this, would you trade Dylan Harper, the number 14, whoever it is, for Cooper Flagg? I think I would in a heartbeat, and I think Cooper Flagg fits this team way, way, way better. Right now, again, this is more so for fun than anything else, but the fact ESPN drops this is like, I don't know, like they're trying to get some ideas out there, because I think everyone's kind of like, listen, Dallas, you said this one thing, but we're not totally sure it's going to be the case long term. And they're like, listen, the whole point here is to pair Cooper Flagg with Victor Wembanyama, terrorize front courts for the future, and Flagg could play the 3 or the 4 and fit seamlessly into this lineup where we are losing exactly 0 roster players, bringing in a player on a rookie scale contract. Yes, Dylan Harper, so sorry I had you in my mind as a Spur, but when it comes to Cooper Flagg, that's the kind of risk you might be willing to take, right? I think Flagg projects to be a much better player than Dylan Harper. I mean, at least a better player, and definitely a better player fit, at least in the Spurs system. So I don't know, to me this is awesome, and I would do this in a heartbeat. But I need to hear from you guys, because like looking at Cooper Flagg, we know what he did in college. I mean, I don't need to go over this again. 19.2 points, 7.5 boards, 4.5 assists, a steal and a half, a block and a half. He's phenomenal defensively, phenomenal offensively, and he won't need to be that number 1 go-to scorer every single night. He'll be able to do it, but he can play second fiddle to Wemby. I don't know. Like, I love Dylan Harper. I really, really like him. I am team draft Dylan Harper, but if this type of trade could ever materialize, I would do this in a heartbeat. Like, again, we're not giving up Castle. We're giving up Harper, but we're getting a guy who is just better, like a better prospect, a better positional fit, and like the same age. So I'm just saying, like, to me, that's crazy. But look, all in all, this is probably not going to happen, but I love discussing this stuff because I saw this today, caught my eye, had to share it with you guys. It's so much fun talking about this stuff, and I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, because that'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. And hey, if you enjoyed, hit that free subscribe button down below. We got big things coming for this channel, and hey, if you want to stay up to date every single day, this is the spot to be. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one.